Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. And hello, Farah, our special guest of honor today. We are so privileged to have you. And for all of you dialing in from all over the world, I am sending you everything that your hearts desire in your personal life, in your professional life, a little bit of surprises, a little bit of mischief. And I really cannot tell you how happy I am that it's the second week of the year and we get to spend it with all of you. I'm going to turn it over immediately to Farah, and I'm just going to address very quickly before I turn it over to her in 1 minute just what leadership means to us at GLEAC. Um, so often we think leadership has to do with titles. And, I think when I was younger, I thought that too. And leadership is the way that you act where you're standing right now, certainly for us. And I think this community and all of you here is a reflection of that because you come from all walks of life, all different countries. Some of you are starting your career journey, some of you are senior in your career journey, but you are leading because it's how you act where you're standing. And I think the mentor community stands for that because you can be a mentor in this community if you're just leading in your life. You don't need to be have all kinds of degrees. You don't need to have 15 years in, and you can mentor and be a mentee. Just certainly based on where you are right now and being brilliant where you are right now. And on that note, I turn this over to this amazing lady that we're so privileged to have. Farah, it is all yours for the next 30 minutes.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Sally-Ann and GLEAC for having me today, and to everyone today for joining to accelerate your goals and leadership for 2021. I hope that you've all been having a really good start to the year despite everything that's going on around in the world. It's obviously a really crazy time. So just before we begin, I just want to set some house rules and give a quick overview on what to expect from today's session. So I'm just going to share my screen. Perfect. So we're going to start with just a quick introduction about myself. To begin the session by a powerful opening meditation where we're going to set our intentions for the session. And then we're going to look at what leadership and goals consist of in the crazy world of Formula One. And after this, we're also going to do a couple of exercises on the goals that we want to achieve this year together. And I'm also going to share with you some of my top tips as well. I'll pause a bit along the way to allow for a couple of questions, but we're going to keep the floor open towards the end for 10 minutes of Q&A, as Asma said earlier on in the session. And then if there's time, we'll end with a reflective meditation as well to close the session. So you will need a pen and paper for the session or a digital notepad. So just have those things ready. And so, yeah, we'll go into the introduction and my background. So my name's Farah. I'm currently in London, which is where I'm based. And I'm really in three industries: music, motorsport, and journalism. Starting with music, I've been a DJ and a music producer for just over 10 years. And I started my career being trained under the wings of Buddha Bar. And I've since been really lucky to travel the world, everywhere from Mauritius to Ibiza, and play for some really amazing clients from the World Economic Forum to the United Nations. And the type of music that I really love to explore, which you'll get a little bit of maybe an insight into during the meditations, is heavily linked to my roots in India, East Africa, and Pakistan. And I love to explore instruments from those regions, whether they're things like the sitar, the ney, the congas, the tablas, and then I love to mix them over a hypnotic electronic beat. With motorsport as well, I've been racing cars in Formula One ever since I can remember, and the more I got involved with the sport, the more passionate I actually became about the leadership within the sport and the transferable skills that can happen when you're immersed in the London called Regents Racing that explores how the community for our senior leaders and executive teams. And a lot of these events are really geared around going completely outside of our comfort zones to really achieve growth, and to learn from exceptional talent within the industry, and then transferring those learning to honing our soft skills. So as you'll get to learn throughout the sessions, motorsport is a really mental game. And so some of the events that we love to do with Land Rover, which fosters a lot of teamwork and communication skills, visiting F1 factories and learning insights from mental performance coaches and things like that. And then lastly, to tie it all together, I'm also a journalist. I love writing and speaking
Farah, you're breaking up. I don't know if you're breaking up for everyone else.
Industries which are so unique in themselves. A lot of inspiring personalities from these around those industries.
Yeah, Farah.
Okay. How about now?
It's
better?
Yes, it's better now, but you were breaking up, so we keep missing you in between.
Okay. Should I repeat a section maybe?
No, it's okay. Why don't you maybe, if we see it keeps happening, we'll have you maybe turn off the video. But let's keep going.
Okay, fine. If it happens, then I'll take off my Bluetooth headphones and just switch to the Mac audio. So
yeah,
just let me know.
Yeah, I think that might be. Yeah, let's do it right now.
Okay, fine.
Okay, how are we now? Is this better?
Yeah, we can hear you. If you turn the volume up, I think we're good.
Sorry about this. Okay, how about now?
Awesome. Yay, we're good. We're ready to rock and roll.
Sorry about this. So yeah, music, motorsports, journalism, and yeah, currently hosting this podcast that, you know, inspires a lot of people to share their mindset and misconceptions around the drivers of success and what success really means to us. So I hope, despite the glitches, I hope that's provided you with a little bit of insight into my background and also really excites you as to what to expect from our session. So we did a quick sound check earlier. I hope it still will work with without the headphones. So I'm just into the meditation. Sally, can you tell me if you can hear this?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. So as we move into this meditation, I want you to pay attention to the words on the screen, which reads, "Where the awareness goes, the energy flows." And as we close our eyes, I want you to think really about 5 things that you were grateful for in 2020, and 5 of those things that you want to bring with you into the new year coming in, and really set the intentions for what you'd like to achieve in this session. So taking a deep inhale and an exhale, I want you to keep your focus on your breath and the mantra that's about to begin. Turn off any distractions in the background and sit in a comfortable position. You can close your cameras if you want, and we're just going to remain in silence for the next couple of minutes, really focusing on where our awareness and our energy goes. And just a quick translation into the mantra. The mantra relates to radiant beauty, abundance, wisdom, prosperity, and the illusions of time.
Namaste, 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 namo namaha. Durga Devi Shankari Namastasye, 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 namo namaha.
So as we prepare to come out of meditation, take a deep breath and really inhale and exhale all of the blockages that held us back from achieving our goals last year, and let them just fade away into the energy of 2020. So as we move into the exploration of leadership and goals in Formula One, motorsport is a very emotional and laser focused sport. We live, breathe and dream of what success looks like. We risk our lives for this sport, and some of us have tasted success and the rest of us visualize every single day what success looks like, because every single team and every single person is committed to winning. And in motorsport, just like in the business world, teamwork is absolutely everything. The average team in Formula One has around 800 people working in the team, and these people are the absolute best in what they do. So it's needless to say that there's a very competitive culture in the sport, and it's very, very much focused on a laser focus of performance. But what really lays the foundation of a team working within Formula One is the capacity for open and honest communication about success and about failure, and doing that with respect, but without blame. And that's really, really important, because whilst there are clear common goals being set, there's also a huge amount of trust between a team that ultimately wants to be led with agility. And that's what galvanizes a high performance and creates a winning team. And in F1, goals are so obsessively explored and they're measured every minute of the day with so much data that they're shared, and these goals are shared with other people. And so teams are very internally driven to want to achieve these goals and these targets. And they dream big, and they start by really dreaming, where do they want to be on the finish line? And that doesn't always mean finishing first. For a team, it could be getting the fastest pit stop in a race, or getting the fastest lap time, or ultimately being midfield in the Constructors' Championship, because it's also about being realistic with the goals that we set ourselves. And from visualizing where we want to be from the finish line, we can then track backwards and reverse engineer how we're going to get there, and the various milestones that we will need to achieve to get to those goals. By then identifying each performance gap in detail and being realistic about what can be achieved, we can then move in through the year where we have almost 10,000 new parts that are constantly being developed and tried and tested at races to build next year's car. And some of the most important things about this is that teams are not afraid to fail by experimenting with those parts. They recognize that failure is absolutely needed to learn how to perform at our limits. And they make those decisions quickly based on the data, and they move on. And crucially, when it comes to a race, the pit stop that a team chooses to make will be one of their most important strategic moves. And that's very similar to real life, knowing when to slow down and when to stop to refresh and refuel. So when you observe a team in F1, there is a very complex performance framework that's happening. And that framework requires a very delicate balance between the optimization on the individual areas within a system and the creation of the synergy and the benefits of integrating those areas, whether it's the different technologies we use like aerodynamics and engines, or the different functional areas like marketing and sponsorship. But at the apex of the system, as we know, is the driver. And whilst the driver is a critical factor in race success, the support and the synergy between the organization and its underlying technology is ultimately what creates a winning team. And just like with any team in life, the performance of our team is fundamentally governed by the weakest link and the weakest player in our teams. So when you observe some of these winning teams in Formula One, some of the important things that really stand out is its leadership culture. If we look at the teams that are winning the Constructors' Championship at the moment, Mercedes F1 and Toto Wolff, who's the team principal, he's very vocal on how Mercedes avoids a no-blame culture and really focuses on the system failures rather than personal weaknesses. And I really believe that the best leaders in Formula One provide this flexibility, and they promote flexibility and clarity amongst their teams. It's not very often that we see bureaucratic processes, because these are really, really oppressive and they're counterproductive to the success in Formula One. They actually have to be avoided at all costs in order to keep a team so agile, so responsive and so competitive. And a big part of this is also avoiding complacency and never getting too comfortable with winning. And so one of the particular challenges for leaders in Formula One is really their ability to manage an increasingly large and complex organization whilst still maintaining a very personal attention to detail, and also maintaining personal relationships that are very much intrinsic towards our success, and maintaining focus and momentum. And that's very similar to any entrepreneur and any leader in any organization. But also there's also an increasing complexity which tends to mitigate against the speed of decision making that is traditionally seen as a strength, and that requires a willingness to allow leaders to emerge at different levels within the organization. So I hope this diagram here just kind of provides a few of the key bullet points that I've mentioned here about the leadership sort of culture and the goals that are set in Formula One. And as we move into the next slide, we can start doing more of an exercise amongst ourselves as a group. So first, I'd like to just ask if everyone can raise their hands to how many of us actually stuck to and achieved our goals for 2020. You just want to like raise your hand and just get a good show, or you can put the smiley face on the Zoom chat. Good stuff. So definitely a lot of people here achieving their goals, which is absolutely fantastic. And how many of us have now set our goals for the year moving forward? How many of us just don't believe in goals at all and just go with the flow? Okay, a few. Well, in my opinion, I really think that setting goals is quite important, because it allows us to get clarity on what we want to achieve, and it allows us to really be accountable and measure our progress and put the plan in place. But ultimately, it also really identifies the performance gaps that we may or may not have. But one of the most important things to, and you guys may already know this, that about goals, is that it can take anywhere from 21 days to 8 months to make a new habit stick. So as we come into this new year with a new, focus on what we want to achieve, really we should be setting our goals, every day, every month, every week, and we should be reviewing all these things all the time, because it's just a constant loop, and it never really stops. So 2020 obviously was a crazy year, and we all had to go incredibly deep within ourselves. And I think we really had to ask ourselves, what does success truly mean to us when the mechanics of so many industries and our safety nets have completely been stripped away? What does success really mean? And I think for a lot of us around the world, Maslow's hierarchy of needs really came in towards understanding that we needed the first 3 basic provisions of health, safety, shelter, and a happy home, because truly that is the core of our success. And now I think as we move into this year and we look back on last year, I think for all of us, success might mean something different to what we thought it looked like. So I want you guys to ask yourself, truly what does success mean? And after everything's said and done, what do you want to be remembered for in the end? So with that being said, I want to take the next 5 minutes to just write down the top 5 goals that you want to achieve this year, and what your ultimate visions are for this goal. What's the ideal result? What's the ideal outcome? And where do you want to be on the finish line for that goal? And I encourage you to write a mix between business, health, family, and personal goals for the purpose of this exercise. So yeah, let's take the next 5 minutes to just kind of write those down. And I'm going to play a little bit of binaural beats in the background to get our energy moving as well. And if you have any questions, you can also drop them into the chat at this point. Also, if you want to share some of the goals, you're more than welcome to put them into the chats as well.
Maya.
Okay, good stuff, guys. So as we set those goals, for the next exercise, what I want you guys to achieve, and thank you for sharing in the chat as well, some of the goals that you guys want to focus on this year. So for the next exercise, what I want you guys to think about is to really rate where you are out of 10 for each of those goals. And by doing that, we can then start to see what is the performance gap and what is the potential of what we need to do to make the goal happen. Think about what needs to happen next to make those things happen. What's missing? What do you need to learn to help you achieve those goals? Is it knowledge? Is it finance? What is the resource that's missing? Or is it people? And then let's think about who and what we need to help close those gaps. And then finally, set a deadline, a provisional deadline. It doesn't have to be fixed for now, but just a provisional deadline into when we want to achieve that, because by really doing that, we're going to unleash our creativity by creating a resource or a time constraint. And ultimately, after this this workshop, it will be great if you guys can really go deeper within those deadlines and really start thinking about them in a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, bi sort of basis. And I've just dropped a document into the chat as well, which is more of a smart tool. So just measuring those goals and writing them down as well on this framework is quite good. So we'll just spend the next couple of minutes rating where we are out of 10 and thinking about what we need to make happen for that goal.
Makes sense.
Okay, great. So in an ideal world, we'll spend a lot more time on writing that, but I encourage you to just get a taster and start conditioning your mind into what you want to achieve this year. So for the next exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of really think about a few things. So and the approaches that we have when we set these goals. I've noticed some chats in here about you've achieved a couple, but you haven't achieved others. And what I'd like to say about that is, for those of you guys that haven't heard of Pareto, and for those that you have, he was an Italian economist who, over 100 years ago, noticed that every year in his garden, 20% of his pea pods that he was growing produced 80% of the peas. And he started to realize that actually, when he looked around, these principles of 80-20 were everywhere in life, whether that was looking at the land that was owned by 20% of the population, but where 80% of the people lived. And other similar things. So when we think about this principle of 80-20, and it also is not applicable to everything, but for a lot of things, we realize that 20% of our action really dominates a lot of the results that we do. So if we have a goal for weight loss, then 20% of the food that we eat will give us 80% of the weight that we don't want. So it's very, very important to really think about where are we spending our time, and if we want to get better, look at the goals that you've highlighted, not just the 5, but find the 2 goals within those goals. That's going to give you 80% of the results that you want, and that's really, really important, because if we want to get better, then we really need to think like, what are the next what are the next 2 moves to get to unlocking that 80%. And also thinking about like, who are the people in our lives that we spend time with, because if even 20% of the people we spend time with are bad, that's going to have a huge consequence on our mindset and our feelings of happiness. So just think about the 80-20 rule, and then also start asking yourself, what is the perfect day? What's a day that you'll never get bored of? How will you start and end it? What will you eat in that day? What will you do? Who will you see? Will you go to work? And what will your work day look like? And by visualizing what a perfect day looks like, we can really identify what are the issues that we might face on a daily basis that ultimately prevents us from achieving our goals. And then we can set more goals to fix the root causes of these issues. And I really think that a lack of self-awareness and denial is really what blocks us from achieving our goals. We really have to look inwards and reflect and really visualize if we want things to change, because otherwise that energy in setting goals, and it becomes stagnant, it becomes blocked energy, and it gets trapped. And then what ends up happening is that we're constantly in a reactive mode, where we block the ability for the flow of the energy that we have within us to move just in abundance to the outcome that we desire. And as Salian just said here in the chat, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is just so, so true. So just think about these things, and also pay attention to the fact that motivating others and being motivated by others is also really important, because I think last year was really the year when mental health really became a priority in the workplace for so many companies. When we're working for other people's dreams, or other people are working for our dreams, it's so important to recognize that successful and empathetic leaders, they really care and they know what their teams and goals are. They motivate their teams to achieve their own personal goals, and by creating this culture of actually caring, they build up loyalty and camaraderie within the team, which is, I believe, what ultimately leads to company success. And one of the first things that I do when I work with a new team is really ask them what are the 10 things that they want to achieve to enhance their well-being, whether it's personal, business, health, whatever it is. Because if I don't know that, then I don't really know who's working for me and my company on a human level. And we're not robots, so we shouldn't treat other people and ignore the goals and the ambitions and the time that they dedicated towards helping us achieve our goals. So yeah, just take the next couple of minutes to think about really finding within those goals what are the top ones that you can focus on to unlock 80% of the results. So I'm just bringing the exercise to a close because we do have a couple more slides to go through, but I just want you to, take away some of those learnings and really adopt them into your own practices. And just some of the top tips, just from my end and kind of my life and some of the things that really helped me with achieving my goals is to never stop learning and to recognize that change isn't automatic. Change is automatic. Obviously, it's out of our control, the circumstances in the world around us, but progress isn't automatic, and we need to keep on doing that. And within that, then I really find that my true feeling of success and happiness is the journey towards achieving the goal, because the journey towards achieving the goal is where we discover, we experiment, we improve, we explore, and that really for me is the fun elements of it. You guys are all here today as part of GLEAC, so you probably all are very aware of the importance of having a tribe of mentors to keep you accountable and to give you the deeper level insights, whether it's in your industry or a particular thing that you want to achieve. And then also giving back to community. I'm a huge believer in that. You can be a mentor to even to your best friend, but you should always give back with knowledge. And then obviously in resonance with that, none of this means anything if our health isn't its fundamental abilities of being good. So it's really, really easy, even when we're working for a dream or we're working for something we don't like, it's so easy to burn out. And some of the things that I do quite a lot to stay on top of my health, apart from taking supplements and stuff, is knowing my Ayurvedic body type. I'm a huge believer in that. I think it's really important to walk daily. It's non-negotiable for me, really, to even despite the weather here in the UK, whether it's raining, snowing, whatever it is, just getting those 8,000 to 10,000 steps in, listening to a podcast, being inspired by nature, and then also doing intermittent fasting within that, I find helps me a lot. And it also teaches me not to consume in excess by doing intermittent fasting, because if I'm just setting myself this one window of 8 hours to eat, then, I'm really kind of developing that discipline, which is so important. Also, we went into a lot about cutting out negative cords and recognizing that you don't need toxic people in your life. Everything is a choice, and, just limit it as much as possible. And then a really, really important one is turning off all notifications. We don't have we're living in this world which is just absolutely crazy. So many things just pop up everywhere, and people that, like, when we were focusing on a particular task, we were not thinking about somebody else, and for that person to enter our space, pop up on our screen, it just detracts us completely. And I just completely find it so much more productive to focus on my task, then open up my inbox when I have the time to answer emails and all of those things. So I just find that really, really, really important. I then do a lot of meditation. I'm not perfect, so I can't do this every day, but I definitely try. And my sister works in the Montessori environment, and something really powerful that she said to me about meditation was, when she goes into a classroom environment, she's dealing with children who are obviously really young. And if she says one thing that because she may have had a bad morning or a bad day, and she hasn't set her mind up for success and really being the best version of herself. Just one thing, that's all it takes to shatter a child's self-confidence. And I think it's really important to take that extra time in the morning or at the end of the day to really do the meditation. I think it makes the biggest difference. And then also I listen to a lot of binaural beats. I'm happy to share a little bit more about that later, but it's almost a way of going into a meditational state of flow. I played a bit of music here which have binaural beat elements and just help in sort of staying focused as well. And then lastly, these are some of the obvious things, but getting 8 hours is obviously paramount. Leading empathetically, and lastly, the last thing that I love to do also that I found personally helps a lot with my goals is taking CBD as a supplement, and I found that that's really helped me with my health and like reducing inflammation and lots of positive things. So definitely read up about that. So I've said a lot in this session, and I appreciate we are a little bit strained for time. So I'm going to open up the floor for any questions, and I'll be very happy to answer them before we end.
Questions, anyone?
We have one question that came in the email before this event. Is Marcus here if he might want to ask the question himself, or I can ask it on his behalf?
Marcus, are you here?
Hi, I'm here. Thanks for this great event.
Marcus. How are you from Berlin?
My question was, racing is a very emotional and passionate sport. What is your dominant guide in this sport? Gut feeling and emotions, or is it rather objectives and procedures you follow? And what is more successful?
I think there's a balance of both, because you definitely need intuition, and you can't ignore that adrenaline is a huge part of the equation, but then you can't be foolish with that energy. You really have to take measured risks. Like it's a hugely risky sport, but everything is measured. Every aspect of a decision is really looked into. So I think you can't ignore your intuition either. So when we look at our daily life and we have a bad feeling about a person or a situation, then don't ignore that inner voice, obviously, but take the hard evidence as well to kind of make an informed decision. I hope that answers your question, Marcus.
Yeah, my next question would have been, assuming that you really have to care for objective assessment of situations, how do you tame down your emotions and control for biases to stay focused?
I think like trying to get a balanced view, so listening to other people's experiences as well within that situation, and trying to hear from the person as well, what's gone wrong in that situation, but don't let it become stagnant, because if it means you have to cut it out, then that's what you have to do, right? You're just going to get trapped in that otherwise for the rest of the time. So everything has a lifetime in itself, so as I said, with Formula One, you make quick decisions and you live with it and you move on. It can't afford to stay stuck because everyone is constantly, improving and trying to get to where they want to be. A couple of other questions we had: how to introduce abundance thinking to someone. That's a great question. There's so much out there on the topic. I think looking into doing particular meditations for abundance, Deepak Chopra has loads of ones as well, which is a great introduction to him or to the topic as well. Like he's got a 21-day meditation on YouTube, which is all about getting abundance into your mind, and just realizing that our energy is abundant. Like when we thought about last year, who would have ever thought that we would be in this situation, and if somebody had told us like, this is what we're going to face, are you going to be able to get through it? Like we would have questioned ourselves, but really last year we tapped into that amazing energy that we had, and it was endless. That fuel that truly lies within us when we're healthy, and when the home that we come into is happy as well. And that flow of energy has to go towards everything that we want to achieve, not in just this year, but also on a day-to-day basis. So definitely check out some of his meditations on abundance, and start maybe reading books. Eckhart Tolle is a great author around a lot of these principles as well. I spend so much time on self-care. How do I find enough time to do any work? That's a great question. I'm clearly, passionate about the topic, but I'm also in 3 industries. And I just think that, it's actually completely woven into every single thing that I do. So, I find it hard to switch off and stop working, but then at the same time, it's so important, because if I start like not taking care of myself and always putting other things first, then within a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, it's ultimately going to take away from the overall goal. So I just think these times are non-negotiable. Like, take the digital detox for the weekend if you need to. Make Sundays about yourself. Just do it, because otherwise you're not going to feel fulfilled and you're going to burn out. How do you find the passion and hunger again? It's obviously difficult now when without traveling, because that was a huge part of my inspiration, but I think people can be really inspiring. I think there's a wealth of videos on the internet of interesting people. I think going back into our childhood as well and thinking what really excited us when we were young, what were the things that we gravitated to, and maybe going into those passions and hungers, maybe things that we didn't get to fulfill, and yeah, I think that might be a good way to start. Listening to music, obviously really exciting. Doing sports as well, I find can be really, really great for just getting that drive going, whatever sport it is. Other questions, CBD, please help me understand. So CBD is cannabidinol, and it comes from the hemp plant. And basically, it's got these amazing, amazing healing properties, from anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer. They have so many amazing terpenes within the CBD compound and supplements that really, really help your mind and body just get really, really good for focus and health. I'm just giving a very quick summary of what it is, but definitely research CBD in itself. And personally, I found the best way to take it is taking it in a supplement form. Like, because I'm a DJ and like all these things I do, I get a lot of back pain. So I've particularly found like taking high dosage of CBD has helped me a lot with managing back pain, particularly. I've written a few articles about this, so I'll drop them into the chat later around a beginner's guide towards taking CBD. Top 2 factors that separate good team from a great team. Communication, I think, and really knowing the people within your team. I think those are the top 2 factors. Love the power of now on earth, keep me grounded, very good. Yes, you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. Absolutely agree, definitely. Yes, and CBD is not weed, just to point out there. It has 0.03% of THC, which is a psychoactive component in marijuana. It's actually completely from the hemp plant. So we know that the hemp plant already has amazing healing properties and is used far beyond those remits. The name of my podcast is called Mission Makers. And just to put there as well, here are my links. So you can follow everything that I'm doing on these links, my website, all of the social media stuff. Sally-Ann, do you want to?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to ask you the question I certainly want to know. What is it that makes up your leadership? If I had to do a scorecard of Farah's leadership, what would make up the elements that are unique to your leadership?
That's such a great question, Sally. I think what makes my leadership really unique is a couple of things. One is being involved in multiple industries. I think that comes in with very different perspectives across all the teams that I'm leading, and it also plays in different strengths. So like now we're living in this like digital world, and having done music production and all of those things has been like a huge backbone in just sort of like understanding a lot of things. But yeah, I think like also suffering from a learning difficulty, I think also makes me look at the world in a very different way. And trying to figure out how to operate within learning difficulties has just made me think of humans on a much more different level, in a much more humanized way, particularly. And also, as I alluded to before, I really genuinely care about people that work for me and what they and what it means for them. To create a culture within the people within my teams of having fun and really getting the opportunity to give their perspectives and to get for them to take risks with some of their their goals and what they want to achieve within the projects as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. So I will end on this note of saying thank you, Farah. I could not, when we often think about racing and DJing, we never think about a female leading in those roles. And I don't think I could have, we could have had a better mentor from our community representing, it kind of goes to the bias of what leadership should look and sound like in certain roles. So woohoo to you for kind of swimming against the wave in industries and sectors that traditionally we don't find a lot of females in. And number two, in terms of your scorecard of leadership, thank you for being very clear on that, and I'm sure all of you can note Farah is very young. And I want to, and we have people who are over 60 in this room, and we have people who are younger than 20, some of us in this room. And I just want to say that know what your unique human skills, all the things Farah talked about, and notice it had nothing to do with degrees and titles, and it had to do with human skills, which is what we're all about at GLEAC, and to really figure out what is yours and what is your scorecard, and take that and spray that on the world. So on that note, thank you all for coming today. This is a new event for us in this format. Farah did wonderful. For all of you, please go. Farah is available now if you would like to chat with her on our mentor feed. There's a link on there. You can get it right off of the website. And any questions you want to, if you want to connect with her personally on anything that she's doing, you can connect with her there. And thank you. And for all of you, I wish you great things, and go out in the world and just be the best version of yourself. That's where actually true leadership is. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Just
Have a
before
great month.
we end, we'd like a group picture.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, hold on. Asma and her pictures, guys. Asma and her pictures. Don't let Asma.
Pictures, it didn't happen.
Asma, thank you wholeheartedly for once again hosting a great event for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Asma, get your picture.
I request you to stop screen sharing so that, we get the full image of everybody here. We have close to 70 people.
And guys, this is how we do pictures at GLEAC. We blow each other kisses. So are we ready? And hold on, members of the team, let's go. Are we ready, guys? Yes?
Yes, we have
made kisses for each other for 2021.
3, 2, 1, go. Keep blowing so that we get all our pictures.
Did you get them?
Yes, we have multiple screens, remember.
Okay. Have a great
Clap your wings.
Guys. Thank you, Farah. We'll look forward to seeing you over on the feed.
Yes,
bye, guys.
I'll share this presentation as well for anyone who wants a copy of it afterwards.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.
Please also do share your feedback on the feedback link in the chat. We're always listening. We always reply to all the feedback.